feet and then clipping the toenails
Doing it all
and
over
wrapping them
again.
back up. Yeah. And sometimes I gotta try to say this without puking. They would peel the toenails back and remove them.
No.
No. It's not torturous enough. Let's peel your toenails off.
No. No, thank you.
You have to look forward to necrosis. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Of course.
Which led to a rotting smell around your feet. So don't complain
good.
about your kids' stinky, like, gym shoes. They
Your
could have
stinky ass feet are nothing compared to rotting
necrotic
feet.
foot. Yes. And it could lead to their toes falling off, but that was a benefit if their toes fell off. Yeah, because then they wouldn't have to worry about them. It would make their foot even smaller if the toes weren't there.
Lucky them. Their toes fell.
Yeah. You could look forward to septic shock and gangrene, which would kill you.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, yes, that would be something that was going to happen.
And the bones would sometimes remain broken for years. They would be broken for years because of the position the foot was in. Like they couldn't heal together because they were broken and separate.
Right. And plus they're stepping on them over and over again.
Right. And if they did heal, a lot of times they would just re-break all the time. Like their feet were constantly in pain their whole life.
Oh, God.
And even like in 1664, the Manchu Kangxi emperor banned the practice, but it failed to take. Like the people were just like, no, this is part of who we are as a culture and you can't tell us what to do.
Right.
We want to do this. And the practice eventually started dying out in the early 20th century. And there were the last case reported of a foot binding was in 1957.
That wasn't that long ago, really.
No, and they said that there was
in our parents' lifetime.
Still some women with bound feet alive as late as 2007.
Wow.
Yeah. And I found pictures of the shoes that these women could wear, and they literally look like infant shoes.
That's crazy.
But they're a weird shape because the foot was like a triangular shape. But it was thick because it wasn't like a foot.
Well, you're folding it.
It was more like a hoof. It was more like a hoof.
Right.
It looked kind of like a hoof. Like a pointy, triangular shaped hoof. Like a horse hoof.
Oh, shudders and fringes.
Yeah, well, you
all
imagine,
over my body.
Oh, you want to have a good marriage, you have to have us torture you first. And I mean, these women were basically disabled their whole life. Like, they couldn't do much of anything.
No.
Like, especially the smaller their feet, the worse it was. But, I mean, that was considered beauty. That was what beautiful was.
Would they ever take their bindings off so their husband could see what their foot looked like?
No, they would take them off regularly and clean their feet and rebind them. Like, they were diligent about that because of sepsis and infection.
Yeah.
And their toes, because they were curled down, they had to be very diligent about cutting their fingernails.
I was going to say that they have to cut their toenails often. But I'm just curious if the men ever saw what their feet looked like without the...
They're horrible.
I know, that's what I mean. Maybe they wouldn't find it so beautiful if they saw what they looked like.
How is that attractive? I mean, when you wrap them up and put the tiny little shoe on it, it looks like... I don't even know. It looks ridiculous. But, to each his own, I guess. It just looks like... it looks ridiculous is the only word I could say. Like, no, that looks uncomfortable. It looks like it hurts. And, like, most of the wealthy, especially with the wealthy families, they would hire a foot binder to come in and do this to their children because most mothers couldn't do that to their child.
Put their child through that, yeah.
Right. And I mean, the foot binder would come in and they would do it, and then they would come back every day or every few days. And with a wealthier family, so they had to pay this person, they would come every day to change the bindings, and clean the feet, trim the nails, bind them up again even tighter. Because, like, with every day, they're going to loosen a little bit. Then the cotton would stretch a little. But with the poorer people, they were doing it, there was more deaths because, they couldn't afford to have someone come and do it as frequently,
Right.
So, gangrene, they get septic shock, blood poisoning, the gangrenous feet. I just can't even.
No.
How does, some weird interpretive dance lady did something strange to herself, and everyone's like, "Ooh, that's attractive. Let's do it."
I don't know, because it's like you think about weird trends and, you know, that we've experienced in our lifetime, but I can't think of any other than maybe like
There's a
plastic
lot of
surgery,
and there's
that
a
really
lot of
would deform you.
there's a lot of people into the whole body mod scene where they get their tongues
Yeah.
slit and they get the implants in their bodies. I mean, there's
But that's
risks
just like
that
a niche of people. It wasn't
right.
100% of the wealthy class. You know what I mean? Something that takes hold that hard. Like,
50% of the women in China in the 19th century had bound
right.
feet. And a lot of like Christian missionaries would go there and they would tell them, like, there were over the centuries, it was like people kept coming in and saying, you shouldn't do this. It's bad. Don't do this. Don't do this.
Right.
And, it was really hard. Something that's been ingrained in your custom. It's like part of your
Well, yeah, it's part of
identity.
your belief.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. And it like, cause they were big into like Confucius and it was all about the woman. It's a filial, like, I have to do what my husband tells me to do. I have to be meek and I have to be beautiful
Right.
and I have to do as he says. And a lot of that all falls into the same thing, you
Yeah.
know? But it's just like horrifying to
Well,
think
and
of.
yeah, you just think about like back in Victorian times how the smaller the waist and they cinch their waist up and, you know, looking frail and looking weak.
Yeah.
It's
It
the
was
same
the same
idea, just a
similar
different way
time.
of doing it.
It was
Yeah.
the 19th century, you know, with a small, tiny waist. Like, they were
Frail,
cinching their
bird-like.
waist. They couldn't breathe, you know?
Yeah, women are
And,
dying, just breaking ribs to get their waist
right?
small.
Yep, and
So
this
I
was
guess
the
it's
little
happened.
feet.
It wasn't as apparent probably as deforming a whole foot for a young girl. And, you know, you didn't see that. You saw their small waist, but you didn't see what it was doing inside them. Where the foot, you can see it on the
I think
outside.
a lot of it too was you had to start doing it as such a small child where
Yeah. There's no consent there.
right. It
The
wasn't
child can't
like
say, I want this.
with most like corsetry usually didn't happen until they were of age. You know what I mean?
Right.
Until they had their come out. Like most of the young girls didn't wear a
Didn't wear the
corset.
corset. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Bridgerton will show you that. Because the younger girls didn't wear the corsets, but the older ones did, that were going into their season.
They're having a season. Yeah. Yeah, being a mother of girls, I can't imagine.
No.
I can't imagine doing that. I mean, I didn't even pierce my kids' ears when they were babies because
I
I
just
just want
feel
to
like
hurt them.
I'm all for people's cultural beliefs and like traditions you have in your culture and respecting that. But I feel like if you're pushing on something that's going to cause physical harm, possibly death, and the child has no say in it, maybe we shouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Exactly.
we shouldn't be doing something that this child can't tell me yes or no because they don't know better to say yes or
If
no.
you're a
And
grown ass adult and you want to bind your feet, I say more power to you. Go for it.
yeah, that's what you want to do because you're an adult, you can make that choice. But as a child, you can't make that choice. And it's just like female genital mutilation when they do that when they start their periods and stuff like that. No, that stuff
No.
is not no.
Nope.
And it tends to all fall on women because
Yep.
it's a way of control.
So if you're listening to this, go and give us a shout out because we like to see what you got to say. Even if it's just say, hi, I liked when you talked about gross foot bindings and sepsis.
Ew.
That was great. And
That's
then
great. I
show me
really enjoy it.
lots of grotesque pictures of foot mutilations because I'm into that.
People do have foot fetishes, though.
I don't know
I'm
if
sure there's some that like that too. I don't know. Hey,
yeah,
there's a kink for everything out there,
but
Margaret.
Colleen hates feet and the fact that I
Yeah,
have to send her an email full of
she's
mutilated.
taking way too much joy out of it.
I really am. I have to send her an email full of pictures of disgusting feet and they're not just, they're like mutilated feet. So they're not even
Yeah,
like, they're even worse. They're terrible. They're terrible.
yeah.
They're
Not
terrible.
looking forward to that email.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. If you guys have ideas of different trend topics that you want to share with us, you can email us at
thecousinsweird@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Facebook and catch our lives when we're able to actually do them when we're in the same room together. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at The Cousins Weird. Again, this is a Thursday episode. We hope to get them out on Thursdays, when things don't happen like they happened this week. You never know. Life is part of, we try. We're working women, full-time working women on top of, being wives and moms and everything else. Sometimes we just can't make it all work. So we do the best we can.
And I've had 4 people cancel on me this week, and 2 of them were due to COVID. So,
it's wild right now here. Wild.
Yeah.
But we hope you have fantastic.
5 cancellations. I'm sorry. I've had 5 people cancel on me. I had a great week set up, and I had 5 cancellations. But I understand. I'd rather have you cancel than to give me COVID. So thanks.
No kidding. Yeah. So
sorry.
Enjoy the rest of your week. We will be back at it again. Have a new episode on Monday. So you'll hear us then.
It'll be this week. It's mine again next week. This Sunday, so.
Better not be about me.
Oh, we'll see.
Bye.
Bye. Stay freaky.
Stay freaky, friends.